What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch Up. Of course, your number one place to catch up on crypto. Now, today we are seeing a lot of crazy things happening, from Bitcoin's price to the fundamentals to the news. And so, hey, it's Monday. We're going to do a full catch up on everything that's happening with Bitcoin right now. So, of course, if you guys do enjoy, please don't forget this is a brand new channel. Feel free to subscribe if you are new, and let's catch up on some crypto, guys. Now, don't forget, if you do want to trade some Bitcoin yourself on up to 100x leverage without needing the KYC, meaning you don't give them your personal information, you just sign up and you start trading, and you're going to get up to $10,000 in bonuses. Make sure you do check out my Margex affiliate link down below. This is where I do all of my trading. As you can see here, there's a ton of different collateral options. It makes your life super easy, so feel free to go check that out if you'd like. Now, today we're going to be starting with what is happening from a technical perspective, then we're going to take a look at what's happening from a fundamental perspective, and then we're going to wrap up the video with some good news and what it could mean for the market. So looking at the technicals, okay, what we can see is that Bitcoin's price is currently trying to make a move out of this macro channel that we've been talking about for the last 6 to 7 months. You guys know that I've pretty consistently said that I think there's going to become a day, there's going to be a point in time in which we see Bitcoin's price break to the upside of this channel, opening the door for Bitcoin to make a move back up towards $84,000. I said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and the best thing that we can do is in the moments in which we are towards the bottom side of this channel, do some accumulating, and in the moments when we're at the top half of this channel, just maybe to leave it alone a little bit, maybe not doing a ton of buying, longing, or anything like that, just letting it play out. The deeper that we do get into this channel, the more likely it is that we do break out, and considering the fact that we've been in this thing for 5 to 6 months now, I do think that we're at a spot in which this could be I think we're getting close, right? I think we're getting to a point in which we're in Q4, we're coming up on, Q4 and Q1, which are historically the best months for Bitcoin and crypto in general. I think we're going to get a breakout here at some given point, and I told you all recently that I'm just sitting back and watching at this point. I think Bitcoin's either going to try to make that move off of this zone that we're in now, or we're coming back down for one more higher low, and then we're going to try to make the move afterwards. And so because of that, there's no need for me to do a ton of purchasing right now, because one way or another, if we break out, it's a better opportunity to buy, or if we pull it back, it's a better opportunity to buy. So that's what we're doing. Now, if we go down to the 4-hour charts, you can really start to see what's happening that aligns very well with what we've been talking about. In the last video, I said, listen, as Bitcoin's price does get rejected here, what you need to watch is this red zone. I told you all $65.1 to $66.7 thousand was going to serve as a liquidity zone. We had a previous point of resistance here, we had a resistance here, and we had all of the liquidity that had been built within this zone in these previous moves. And as a result of that, I said what you need to watch for is for Bitcoin's price to retest this as support, try to flip this resistance into support on a macro basis, and use it to bounce towards the upside. Because if it's capable of making that move and holding this as a foundation, this could be the pullback that's needed to get the breakout that we're looking for of this channel. And as you can see, guys, that is exactly what's happening. Bitcoin came back down, put in something of a little double bottom. It's not a real double bottom, obviously, because we're not at the bottom of a macro move to the downside, but we did kind of get a double establishment of support right around the same little area, using that to push back up towards the top side, clearing this most recent high, setting a new micro higher high, now currently retesting a clearing of this breakout. Now, the next thing that I want you to be on the lookout for, and what I really want you to pay attention to over the next 24 hours, is what does happen here, right? You have seen that there have been previous times in which Bitcoin recently came up and cleared out the top side of this channel, but was unable to maintain it. We weren't able to keep it. We immediately collapsed afterwards. And so what I want you to watch out for now is I want you to go out to the daily charts and look at this channel and say, okay, if on the daily charts we see Bitcoin's price get rejected and still forced down under this thing, well, this breakout's not happening quite yet, and we're still at risk of Bitcoin's price pulling back to the downside, not only just back down to the mid 60s, but we're still talking about the high 50s. That's still a possibility. But if Bitcoin's price does clear this thing and we start getting a close and then the next open maintains outside of this macro channel, we're opening up a door again that could look like Bitcoin's price inevitably climbing to $70,000 and $80,000 ranges that I think could be absolutely massive. So a lot of what happens in the future is going to be determined by what we start seeing develop today, and you need to watch it incredibly closely. And just do understand, I will still make a ton of videos talking about this, and maybe even one later today as we do get closer and closer to this breakout. So feel free to stick around later today and see if we get any news there. Now, from a fundamental perspective, my friends, things are also getting a little bit crazy, okay? If we go out to a crypto fear and greed index, looking at this thing, we're currently sat in the greed zone, still around a 72. Now, that's not super duper concerning, but what I will say is we've been maintaining a consistent flow of fear recently. And look, you can't see it. There you go. We've been in a pretty much maintaining a consistent flow of fear recently. This thing has been sitting up here for quite a while. And when we do sit in greed for a little while, that does make me, of course, I'm nervous about the fact that we're in greed, but it tells me that we're not so volatile. You know, I'm not scared of being in greed. We have seen entire bull markets sat in the greed zone. That's not what scares me. What scares me is whenever we have those big jolts of emotion where it's like everyone's excited, everyone's scared, everyone's excited. And at that point, no one really knows what's going on. And then liquidations usually hit the fan and dude, everyone starts getting liquidated. That's what I don't like. So the fact that we're stabilizing in this greed zone actually is not the worst thing ever. And if you go look at, say, the 1 year, right? If we just zoom out, again, there have been times where we spent entire moves to the upside sitting in these greed zones. But the best times are whenever we somewhat stabilize, right? Like these little moments where we start here and we push all the way up here in a stable greed. That's what I like to see, right? And so this isn't all too concerning. I actually do like it, and I feel like it's better than what we saw a couple of days ago. From an RSI perspective, how this has transpired is that we're actually seeing the RSI still in a decent place, right? What we can see is that the average weekly RSI is at a 44. Some of your bigger ones are higher, right? So Bitcoin is almost at a strong, which is not the best in my opinion. ETH is sitting a little bit lower, but like BNB, WIF, Phantom, Jupe, Aave, TRX, a lot of these ones are now pushing into that strong zone. And so it tells me that we're in a spot right now where we're really top heavy, right? A lot of your bigger ones, your Bitcoins, your BNB, Solanas, etc., those are pushing upwards and those are getting a little overextended to the top side, but they haven't been faced or chased yet by these smaller ones. A lot of your smaller market cap cryptos haven't made that move yet, and you can look at that in two ways. The first way you can look at it is that they're next, right? So the top of the market's going to push first, then the bottom of the market's going to push next. That's very possible. Or you could quite simply just say that people aren't willing to take risk right now prior to the elections, so they're just buying things that they think will be able to sustain through the elections, and then they'll of course start looking at altcoins afterwards once we get a clearer picture and some more clarity. I think that's more likely. Option number 2 is more likely, and so I am still focused on your major ones right now. I'm not really going too deep on your smaller altcoins and microcaps because I do think people are going where it's safer until elections are over. So for the next week, I do think we're going to remain to be pretty top heavy. And that's also applicable in the 24 hours. It's a little bit more well diversified, but again, you can see we're really top heavy here on the 24 hours. Now, overall, I'm not really all that concerned. Although we are seeing the market moving, we're seeing things like Bitcoin getting a little bit overbought, starting to get a little overextended. We see the market in fear. I'm not going to go ahead and say that this, is terrible. Like, I actually don't think we're in a bad spot right now. I would actually say we're in a rather sustainable moment in which this market is moving upwards and it's actually looking okay. When we go out to the liquidation heat map, for example, let's go to model 2. I've been preferring that one recently. And then we go out to, say, the 1 year. Although we are making this move to the upside, what you have to understand is that there is still a shit ton of liquidations above us. And sure, there are some below us, don't get me wrong. And I've told you all consistently, at any given point, we might just fall and smash these. But at the end of the day, when we're moving through a bull market, you're going to always see liquidations below you. It's just what's going to happen. People are going long. People want this market to move upwards. And as long as there is enough bullish catalysts and enough bullish movements, it's fine to see liquidations down here. It doesn't mean you're always going to go hit them. What I like to see during a bull market is liquidations to the upside, because these are doubters. These are people who don't think that this market's going to go upwards. This is people who are betting that this market is going to go down. And oftentimes during bull markets, these are the people who get absolutely wrecked. And so because of that, seeing that the amount of liquidations, even in the last month, above us are building and building and building, I still do think we're going to smash through these liquidations and keep consistently pulling these people's liquidity and just taking them out the market to some degree. And so considering the fact that, yes, sure, crypto fear and greed index is looking greedy. The average RSI is pushing a little bit overbought right now. And just in general, we're at the top of this channel, so I wouldn't be doing a ton of buying. I'm not going to go and say again that this is a terrible time for crypto. Sure, I'm not going long on leverage. I'm not buying anything right now. I'm not really doing too much, but I do think there is still room to run to the upside. And I think this does validate the idea that we could get a breakout sooner than later because the market is in a pretty healthy spot. And I do like that a lot. And so again, even if this market does pull back to the downside, you guys know we're prepared for that. That's not even remotely concerning because I think that we're coming back for a higher low and we're going to break out if we don't just break out pretty, sometime soon. So from a technical perspective, guys, we're actually looking pretty good. I'm actually rather optimistic about what we're seeing right now, and I am looking forward to how this all does play out. Now, from a news perspective, things have actually gotten even pretty damn good too. We're seeing a lot of great news that I want to talk to you about here, but I do want to remind you guys, I did recently open up a Patreon here on the Crypto Catch-Up. It's only $5 a month, but you're going to get daily technical analysis from me like we just did. You're going to get daily fundamental analysis with me. me, you're going to be able to join the community. So talk to other community members. And every couple days or every day or just whenever there's any big news, I go in there and I just leave them messages about my thoughts, what I'm thinking, how I think certain things impact the market, a lot of things that I do take to these videos. So if you do like my thoughts or like my ideas or like the way that I approach the market, I do leave them a bunch of extra nuggets of information in there as well. Again, only $5 a month, so feel free to go check that out if you want down below. Now, from a news perspective, what we can see is that, yeah, things are heating up. We got more news that Hong Kong will approve more Bitcoin and crypto exchanges this year. I've told you all so consistently that the Eastern Asian area is absolutely exploding. Crypto is going insane there. I know people there. They're talking about how they're seeing crypto everywhere. The general people are talking about crypto. And this is not only a result of regulations easing up, but also countries like India pushing people out. They're pushing the crypto people out of India. They're leaving. Many other places we're also starting to notice that as well. We're seeing Italy. We're starting to see some crypto migration from Italy already just because of the news that we saw from 2 weeks ago. Things like that. On top of that, we're also seeing stimulus in many of these Eastern Asian countries. They're starting to receive a little bit of help from the government in terms of how they're actually going to do from an economic perspective. And all of this is allowing their risk on assets to really start gaining some momentum, like crypto, like Bitcoin itself. We got more news. Tether now owns 82,000 Bitcoin worth $5.55 billion. They announced this in a presentation not too long ago. Obviously, we know Tether is one of those major players. They are the storm survivors, if you ask me, because if anybody was going to fall from a storm, it would have been Tether on several different occasions, and they're still surviving. They're still doing well, and this is also contributing, like this person said here, to the supply shock that we still think is pending right now. You go a little bit forward, speaking of supply shocks, Metaplanet buying another $1.6 billion worth of Bitcoin. Of course, this translates to roughly $6-7 million worth of USD, and they have been doing this consistently, damn near every day it feels like, and they have just been absolutely buying. Again, this is that Eastern Asian area looking very good. And then last piece of news today is that last week, spot Bitcoin ETFs bought 15,000 Bitcoin, while miners only mined 3,000 Bitcoin. I told you all about a week ago that these types of ratios are going to be important. When we're seeing 5,000, or sorry, not 5,000, 5 times more Bitcoin being purchased than what we're seeing being mined, it just shows you that the supply shock that is pending right now is going to get closer and closer and closer until it coils up and explodes. You mix that in with the fact that liquidations are going to absolutely smash all these people who just don't think this market can move up. It's a perfect combination. And say, for example, if Donald Trump does win presidency, that is what is best for the world of crypto. I mean, it could be a perfect storm to really start seeing this market breaking out. And Bitcoin not only just pushing into the 70s, but I mean, maybe we do see, bam, something insane like into the hundreds or so. I think that's very possible. So overall, a ton of bullish news, a ton of good things going on in this market. And we're actually in a pretty good place from a technical and fundamental perspective. So I like a lot what I'm seeing, and I hope you guys do feel much more caught up than before you were before this video. So as I mentioned before, guys, there's a couple things you can do if you'd like. Feel free to go check out that Margex link down below if you do want to start investing on up to 100x leverage yourself. And of course, feel free to check out the Patreon down below for extra posts, fundamental, technical analysis, and much more from me. But overall, I have a couple vids dropping today, so make sure that you do stay tuned for those. And I can't wait to see you all and catch up with you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.